Welcome to College Admissions Toolbox, giving you the edge you need to get into the colleges of your dreams, with your host, Steve Schwartz. That's me. Today, we're talking with Jim Giovannini.
Welcome to College Admissions Toolbox, Jim. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for being on the show. Now, you've got quite a background. You're one of the nation's leading experts in SAT and ACT preparation, and you have a nationally best-selling book with Barron's educational series. You also run an ACT program called ACT Success. Could you tell us a little bit more about how you got to where you are today?
Absolutely. I was a classroom teacher many years ago, and I enjoyed doing that. But at the same time, I began tutoring to make some extra money, like all young people do when they first start out their jobs. And making a long story short, eventually I found myself teaching all day and tutoring all night. And I loved both of them, but something had to give. And eventually I decided to leave the classroom. I taught high school history, and I tutored for a year. And after that, I opened up a group of learning centers a year later. Well, one, and then a second, and then a third, called academic tutoring centers. And that's how all of this ball got rolling. Along that way, I also decided to start, teaching kids how to take the ACT and the SAT. They asked for it, and I just learned how to do it over 20 years ago, and just bought every book out there and taught myself, and eventually became quite the expert in it. And the rest is history. I mean, today we employ lots and lots of teachers. I still get to do some of the tutoring myself, and I write all the materials, and it goes really well. It's a good product.
Oh, wow, that's really something. So you found the tutoring was taking over your life, so you thought, you know what? Let me just do this all the time.
Well, yeah. And, I always wanted to work for myself, but I also love teaching. And so this is the best of both worlds. I'm what you call an edupreneur, an educational entrepreneur. And it's been 25 years doing this now.
Oh, wow. That's really something. 25 years. Wow. One thing we really love to hear on College Admissions Toolbox are stories. Now, over 25 years, and you've worked with a lot of students, could you take us to the moment in time maybe of the worst moment you've seen or experienced working with a student in test prep or college admissions?
There's a number of them. There's a lot of success stories, but the one that comes to mind the most was early on in my career. I was working with a high school student, a girl, and she was sort of a reluctant student. She came to tutoring, but she often didn't have her work done, but when she did do the practice tests or the skill builders, it was sort of halfway. And so I eventually was kind of winning her over, and she was coming and she was showing up prepared, but her boyfriend would always drop her off and then kind of wait outside for her. So one day she came in to be tutored, and she pulls out her biology book and her practice ACT test that I'd given her to do. And we did a couple of minutes of biology, and then it was time to review the ACT work. And she goes to open up her ACT book that she had done. I think she had done her homework, and the entire thing was glued together. Page by page. Her boyfriend had glued her entire book together so that she couldn't stay at tutoring, and so she could leave and they could go wherever they were going to go.
You're kidding me. Sabotage.
Yeah, absolutely. Sabotage. Absolutely. So that was quite the moment. That's probably the funniest story. We've worked with a lot of kids that are a little reluctant, and they come up with interesting ways to stall. But typically after 25 years, we know how to get through to those kids. We have a couple of office dogs, and the kids love the dogs, but sometimes the dogs become the distraction, and they want to play fetch with the dogs or feed the dogs treats. Or recently we had a student lock a tutor out of a room. The tutor went out to grab an extra piece of material, and when the tutor came back, the chair was wedged up into the door handle like you see on TV, so the tutor couldn't get in, and the student said, that's what you get for leaving me alone in the room. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's great. But definitely it seems like, finding ways to make it fun a little bit, having the office dogs. I've never even heard of something like that before, but that's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Most kids love the dogs. We have a snack center, the kids, they all come and they get popcorn and juice or whatever they want, and they make themselves stuff in the microwave, and the dogs are there, and there's treats everywhere, and everybody's pretty happy.
No, sure. No, finding ways to make test prep fun is definitely important. It can be quite a grueling process. So good that you're spicing it up a little bit. I'm wondering, in your time as a tutor, you've worked with a lot of students. Have you ever come across any students that, you saw experience some sort of light bulb moment that led them on the path to success? Could you tell us the story behind one of those?
There's a good number of those. It never happens on the first time you're working with a student. And so I'm going to tell the story, but I want the students who are listening just to realize, just to stick with what you're doing. If you find a tutor you like or a teacher you like, trust that person. They'll find a way to inspire you. They'll find a way to dig into your personality, to present the information in a way that makes sense to you. And so to my story, it's hard to make test prep completely fun. Let's face it, we would all rather be outside playing our favorite sport or listening to music or hanging out with friends. Test prep is not like the top thing for a teenager to want to do, but you have to do it. It's like regular schoolwork. You don't want to do it, you have to do it, and so you make the best of it. Typically when I'm working with a student, the way to get through them is to find the thing that can change them quickly. And so I was working with a student one time. His name was Phil. And I was working with him on test prep. And I was doing it in his school's library. But I noticed that every time he came in, everything was a total disaster. Like his backpack, his folders. And I thought, okay, we need to dig a little deeper here. So I put the test prep to the side for a moment. And I asked him, how often does he turn in his homework? Is he organized? Yeah, none of those things. I said, let's take a walk down to your locker. So we walked down the hallway to his locker, and he said, what are we doing? I said, I just want to see something. I said, open your locker. And he did not want to open his locker.
He knew what he'd see.
Exactly. So he does the combination. He opens the locker, and it was like a tsunami of paper came flying out.
Falls right out. Yeah. Totally.
Old lunches, rotten bananas, banana sandwiches, nasty smelling gym clothes. And I went and found a custodian, and I grabbed a couple of those giant plastic garbage bags. And we spent like the next, 2 hours on the floor sorting through all of this crap. And we didn't do any test prep. And then the next time he came in, it was a couple days later, I went through his backpack and I helped him organize all of his folders. I didn't do it for him. I did it with him. And that's the difference. I did it with him. And once we got all that down, he found that he could find everything. And the test prep actually became easier because he liked what I had done with his learning style. He just wasn't organized. And as a teenager, your parents often aren't going to be the ones to organize you. You're not going to listen to your parents. It's, you need somebody else to get through to you. And so that light bulb moment wasn't really anything to do with test prep. Most, when it comes to just regular hardcore test prep, the light bulb moment comes about 3 or 4 sessions in typically. Once you've taught a student all the strategies, whether it's for an ACT or an SAT, it takes a while for those to synthesize in the brain and to internalize them. And it takes 3 or 4 sessions and practice tests for it all to soak in. But the light bulb moment always comes when you're scoring like that second or third practice test with a student and they know they're getting a whole bunch right. And you're saying yes, 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 instead of wrong, wrong, wrong. And you can see their face light up and you just see it. And so that's a real moment. I have some other stories too, but I'll let you ask another question.
No, this is really something, Jim. So many valuable lessons learned from the student with the locker. Just to start there for a second, being organized is so important. And sometimes you don't even know the ways in which you are disorganized. Obviously, the locker kid probably knew something was up, and he probably knew he should be doing something differently, but didn't know what to do. Because obviously he was embarrassed. He knew that you would catch on that something was a little bit off. But even for anyone out there, I think in my own life, there's certainly been a lot of times that I've learned some sort of like life hack type efficiency thing I could do to improve my own learning, or even just what I do as a college admissions counselor, a way to get better organized, a way to be more efficient. And so one thing I often tell students is look to people who've been through the process before. Look to people who have those habits and strategies in place that they use themselves, and then see what could you take from that? What could you learn from that for your own experience? So it could be a tutor who got a top score on the exam. It could be a fellow student at your high school. Talk to them and say, what are the few things that you do to do better in English class or math class? And then try to kind of gather some lessons out of that.
I agree. If a student can find themselves a mentor, that's really important. And it doesn't have to be a mentor for somebody who can do all areas of your life, but in each area of your life, find somebody who knows more than you. I actually have a fortune from a Chinese fortune cookie taped to my desk, and I got that fortune 25 years ago on the first day I opened my company.
Oh, wow.
I went to a restaurant and it says, if you want advice, ask 3 old people.
Sure.
And when you're 17 or 16, an old person is just about anybody over the age of 20 to you. So find somebody who knows more than you do and ask them for help. Ask them for advice. It's the best way to do it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel yourself. Ask for advice.
For sure. I mean, you don't know what you don't know. And someone who's been through the process before, or someone who's successful in that area, they probably know something you don't know. And it's not just raw aptitude. It's certain habits they've built or strategies they've used that you could apply in your own life to do better in school, in test prep. Absolutely. So really valuable lessons there. Thanks so much for sharing those, Jim. I want to shift gears now and move into my favorite part of the interview, which is the lightning round. I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions. You give me some rapid fire responses. Are you ready?
Go for it.
Awesome. You can do it. What's your number one piece of advice for test prep?
Do it. I mean, that's it. It's, you have to do it. You have to put your all into it. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Can I elaborate on the lightning round here?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so here's a great piece of advice. Standardized tests are different than any kind of test students take in school. They are designed for failure. You are supposed to get a lot of questions wrong. So in reality, on an ACT, for example, the national average is a 21 out of 36. That's a 59% correct quotient, so to speak. 59% in any class is an F. You would not accept that, but it's a national average. But even if you scored a 70%, you're in the 25 or 26 range. That's a good ACT score. It won't get you into Harvard, but it will get you into a lot of schools. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. When you're doing test prep, you have to give yourself permission to fail, and you must review your errors. If you only look at what you got right and you don't go back and look at why you got it wrong and why the wrong answer was wrong, you will not improve. So review your mistakes, do the test prep, and allow yourself to get some wrong. You'll be fine.
Definitely. Really important advice. Couldn't agree more. Thanks for sharing that. Could you share with us one habit that you believe contributes to success?
Diligence. You have to keep going. Don't quit. Even when it seems hard and you're getting a lot wrong, it doesn't matter. You have to keep pressing forward. We learn from what we do wrong in life, not what we get right. And so you hear this theme from me that it's okay to make mistakes. You have to give yourself permission to make those mistakes as long as you learn from them. So it's that diligence, not giving up.
Definitely. Reviewing is really important. Persistence is really important. Thanks for sharing that advice. Could you share with us one online admissions resource that you absolutely love?
Okay, I'm not the admissions expert. You are, but College Confidential is where I think a lot of students know that. It seems to be a good spot to go to get real-time advice from people who are in the middle of it. Students who go to College Confidential and the parents, they're interested in the best options for them. And so the best way to do that is College Confidential is my favorite. What's your favorite, Steve?
Definitely. Well, one that I really like is Reddit's College Admissions Forum. It's similar to College Confidential in that it's a forum, it's a message board, people can share advice. But one thing I love about Reddit's College Admissions Forum is that they have this system where people vote on which responses they like the most. And so it's a way for kind of the cream rises to the top rather than everything just being in chronological order. So that's one alternative message board students to check out. It's been growing like crazy over the past couple of years, and I'm excited to see where it goes next. What's one book that you believe no college applicant should be without?
It's actually an older book. It's called What Smart Students Know by, I like to say Adam Levine, but you're just going to Google that and get the singer. It explains how to get through, whether it's your last year of high school or especially college, doing what you need to do to learn the material without wasting time. Students have got to figure out that not every assignment requires the exact same amount of effort. There's different reading strategies. There's different organizational strategies. There's different study strategies. It's one of my favorites.
No, it's a really good one. We'll link to it in the show notes. Definitely good. Again, coming back to what we said before, learning from those who've had the successes and kind of implementing their strategies as well. Well, this has been great, Jim. Thanks so much for joining us. What are you up to these days?
So our latest project is writing a new SAT success book for the newly redesigned SAT. So our ACT success book is great. We're always updating that, but as everybody knows, ACT makes minor changes. So once a year we do a new edition and we update that. So that's easy to keep up with. The SAT is a big thing. We're also doing, I also have a major new initiative that we've been doing for about 8 months now. It's going really well. If you go to our website, actsuccess.org, actsuccess.org, you'll find an entire home study package for the ACT. It includes everything a student would need to do this at home when they either can't afford a private tutor, they don't have time for a private tutor and want to do it on their own. It includes our ACT Success textbook, a full facilitator's guide with all the explained answers in the book, all the lesson plan to follow, so it's really simple to follow it. 2 real ACTs to take and score online on our online scoring portal, and an entire video series of lectures by me explaining all the hints, tricks, tips, strategies, the rules of taking the ACT. It's a great program, super affordable. So actsuccess.org, and you will find a great home study ACT program at a fraction of the cost of what you would pay a private tutor, for sure. And great results. 3 to 5 composite point increases on average, many a lot higher.
Oh, wow. Well, that sounds all great, Jim. Thanks so much for sharing those with us. And I assume students can find you online at actsuccess.org?
Yes, they can.
All right, great. We'll link to it in the show notes. Thanks so much again for joining us, Jim. Take care.
You too. Thanks.
Some of you guys were asking me about how you should go about getting feedback on your college essays and your college essay topics to start with. So I just wanted to give you some quick tips on this. Most people will tell you to just get feedback from friends, family, and teachers, but there are some major problems with this. I mean, sure, they can give advice and read drafts, but it can get kind of tricky sometimes. They know you personally, but the people reading your application don't. It can be hard to say no to these people you know and respect if you don't agree with the changes they want you to make. What you really need is feedback from people who haven't met you before, who can give you their real, honest, constructive criticism and advice to help you write the best essay possible. But at the end of the day, it's going to be your essay, and you need to be able to say no if you don't agree with one of their changes. So I really recommend getting feedback from people you don't know, or at least people you don't know very well. This way, you'll feel more comfortable disagreeing with them if you don't like the suggestions they make. So you're probably thinking, where do you find these people? I mean, one thing you could do is ask friends of friends, acquaintances, to exchange college essays, the sort of thing you review mine, I'll review yours. But another place you can find these people is, of course, the internet. I really think this is one of the best ways. There's just something about the internet that makes it easier for people to get really honest with their feedback and share what they really think about things. So I've built a small private online community where you can get feedback from other students who are going through the process right now. By working together with other students, you can share advice and get feedback on your college essays. You'll also get feedback on your college essays from me personally. This private online community is just one of several resources I've put together. They're all part of a course I've created to help you write effective college essays. You can join this community and sign up for the online college essay course at collegeadmissionstoolbox.com/essays.
Thanks for listening to College Admissions Toolbox. Head over to www.collegeadmissionstoolbox.com to get more free tools and resources that will help you get into the colleges of your dreams.